Today, we are going to be talking about something that I am best known for, which is the topic of confidence. There's been hundreds of years of thinking done on confidence. And today we're going to talk about maybe we've been thinking about confidence the wrong way. And we're going to dive deep into this idea of confidence is a choice and a mindset before it becomes a behavior. If you change the way you think about confidence, I know it will change how you take on every single day. And today we're going to cover 3 things about confidence. The first is why we're born fully self-confident and the world and influences that are out of our control actually hold us back. Second, we're going to talk about how to break out of the forces that hold us back to tap into our own unique form of confidence. And third, I'm going to give you a couple of ways in which to think about it so that you can advance your life personally and professionally. So first, let's talk about why we've been thinking about confidence the wrong way. We're all born fully self-confident. If any of you have ever been around a 5-year-old, you don't have to have kids, but if you've ever been around a 5-year-old, we are born fully self-confident. Ask any 5-year-old what they're the best at in the world, and they'll tell you right away, I'm the best at soccer, I'm the best at hugs, I'm the best at everything. Because at 5, we haven't learned how to compare, despair, we haven't experienced setback, disappointment. We only see our potential and our possibilities and our strengths, and we don't even see weakness or what's missing in our lives. And at some point in our life, between the ages of 8 and 12, we start to become self-conscious. We experience a setback or someone says something about us, and all of a sudden, we start to think some dark things about ourselves because being self-conscious easily becomes a form of self-doubt when we start to see our flaws and weaknesses. I can remember that moment when I was 12, and the first time I went to a swimming pool at 12 and someone said, "That girl's chubby." And I said, "What's chubby?" Because at that moment in my life, I had never thought about body image. And for me, it's kicked off this lifelong spiraling act where you start to doubt yourself. You start to think dark things about yourself. We actually spent a lot of time as a team double clicking on what happens between the ages of 8 and 12, because you can't solve a problem until you've diagnosed it. And we've identified 6 forces that show up in our lives between the ages of 8 and 12 that form the basis of an inner critic in adulthood that never goes away for good. So I'm going to go through what those 6 forces are, because understanding them helps us give dimension to what our inner critic is feeling. And our inner critic is what holds us back from being fully self-confident. Here are the 6. The first, the deficit mindset. This is where we see everything from the lens of weakness or what's missing versus our strengths and our potential. The easiest way to think about this is when you look in the mirror, do you look for your beautiful sparkly eyes or the new wrinkle that just formed? The second is the shrinking effect. This is where we underestimate ourselves, shortchange ourselves. How many of us say sorry all day long when we haven't even done anything wrong? We say sorry as a default. Well, today's your day to stop that. You're going to say, "Thank you. I appreciate you. It won't happen again. Thanks for the feedback." When we say sorry as a default, it means the shrinking effect has taken hold of us. We think that the flaw lies within us, and therefore we apologize as a default. The third one, satisfaction conundrum. This is where we see ourselves as only happy and fulfilled when we've achieved an external marker of success. We tie our happiness to an external marker. I'll be happy when I lose 5 pounds. I'll be happy when I lose 10 pounds. I'll be happy when I get that job. I'll be happy when I get that promotion. Now, I'm not saying not to have goals in life, but when we tie our happiness to an external marker of success, what happens? Well, if we get it, it's like a treadmill. We're never fully satisfied and we just chase the next one. I lost 10 pounds. I'll probably lose another 5. Let me keep going. Or if we don't get it, we beat ourselves up and don't hold ourselves in high regard outside of that external marker. There's so much abundance in our life outside of that external marker. But when we have satisfaction conundrum, we regret, we don't learn from it, and we just think worse of ourselves. We become even more insecure and even more overachieving. The fourth force that holds us back is superhero facade. I got this. Everything in my life is perfect. Let me post on social media to get a dopamine hit just so everyone knows that I'm awesome. The most confident people in the world are not superheroes. In fact, Shonda Rhimes, in her commencement speech at Dartmouth, said, "Whenever you see me succeeding in one part of my life, I promise you I'm failing somewhere else." The most confident people are not superheroes, because if we're all superheroes, no one is invited or allowed to have fingerprints on our success. If you don't have superhero facade, why is that so powerful? Because when someone asks you how you're doing, you can give a very confident inventory of, here's what's going well, here's where I need some help. Maybe you're the person who will help me. The fifth force that holds us back is setback spiral. This is where a negative moment, a disappointment, a criticism expounds to cover how we feel about our entire life. My boss gave me some feedback. Does that mean I'm a terrible mother, sister, best friend, daughter? Everything in my life is off because of this one moment. Nothing feels right. And the last force that holds us back is systemic bias. This is where there are asymmetrical structures of power. The rules were not created by us or for us. And in fact, because those scorecards were not meant to see us, they can make us feel bad. It took me twice as long to get to markers of success when I was a consultant as my male colleagues. It literally took me twice as long to get to the same place. It took me 11 years to get to a place where most of my male colleagues got there in 5 or 6 years. And the whole time I thought it was my fault, when fundamentally in the 2000s, less than 13 percentage points of the entire global partnership of the firm I worked at were women, of which 2 percentage points were women of color. And so I actually now think about that moment, because at the time I was so insecure. I thought it was my fault that I didn't make these markers of success, when actually the scorecard wasn't built to see someone with my profile. Together, these 6 forces form the basis of an inner critic that holds us back from our fully confident selves. I want you to take a moment and just think about, which of these 6 forces have you ever felt in your life? And which 2 do you feel the most often? We're going to provide a downloadable PDF so you can see these 6 forces and really reflect on it. And the reason I want to provide it to you is because these 6 forces are your new vocabulary to double click on insecurity and fear. Because when we can label it, we take away its power. So the next time you feel doubt or insecurity, double click on it and say, wait, is this shrinking effect? Am I shortchanging myself out of this opportunity? Is this why I don't feel comfortable throwing my hat in the ring for this opportunity? Because when you name it, now we can do the second part, which is we can change how we take on the day. We can break out of those 6 forces. And the second part, I think, is the most important part of this philosophy. If we want to be truly confident, if we want to tap into the best of ourselves, we have to make a choice to break out of these 6 forces, to not take direction from them. Change our own mindset and how we value ourselves. And then we can go out and do great things. How do we break out of this? Well, I like to use the dressing room as an analogy. Some of you might know I own a fashion company, and I still dress women all the time. You can still book a 30-minute appointment with me called the Confidence Closet. It will change your life in 30 minutes. And every woman comes into the dressing room with all 6 forces. In fact, her inner critic shows up before she does. Before we've even started a fitting, it's 30 minutes long, she'll tell me she hates her arms, she hates her thighs, she just had a baby, she's going through menopause, that dress looks good on the mannequin, it won't look good on her. Talk about systemic bias. A mirror inside a dressing room is a trigger for the deficit mindset. And I always say, let's pause, because you've come in here setting yourself up to fail. You've come in with a mindset that this is not going to work. And you come in with a mindset of the worst version of yourself. And for 10 minutes, I don't allow her to talk about her body or clothes. I say, you have to answer 3 questions for me. 1, what are you most proud of in the last 12 months of your life? 2, if your best friend was standing here, what would they tell me about you? And 3, what are you the best at in the world? No one in the world is better than you. This a question a 5-year-old can answer, by the way. No woman wants to answer my question. She usually goes, what? This was 30 minutes. I got to Zoom. I got to pick up my kids. Like, I don't want to sit here and answer these questions. And I always say, I won't do this fitting until you answer at least one of these questions. Because if we don't change the chemistry of this room, it's not going to work. And so inevitably she relents because she's allocated the 30 minutes. And I always say, okay, let's start talking about it. I'm a dress whisperer. I'll get you out of here on time. I get it right in the first time. So don't worry about the time. I'm watching the clock. And inevitably, she starts telling me about her life, the things she's proud of, the things that are going well in her life. We start laughing. I'm like a velvet knife. You don't feel it happening. I'm dressing her while this is going on. And after she puts on an outfit that I think looks really good on her, we do have mirrors outside the dressing room. We don't allow mirrors inside the dressing room because I think there's a lot of triggers that happen when you look at yourself half undressed. But there's mirrors on the outside, and inevitably she'll come out of the dressing room and she'll say, "This is a skinny mirror." I'm like, "Nope, it's from Bed Bath & Beyond." Rest in peace, Bed Bath & Beyond. It's 1995. It's not a skinny mirror. It's a real mirror. She goes, "What did you do?" I said, "You made a choice not to take direction from your inner critic. We changed your mindset by talking about all the things you love in your life, all the abundance in your life. And then we could go to work." Confidence is a choice and a mindset before it becomes a behavior. If any of you are familiar with icebergs, only 10% of the iceberg is visible above the waterline. It's behavior. It's what I can see. 90% of the iceberg is below the waterline. It's thoughts, values, feelings, wants, and needs. So much of the time when we're told to be more confident, what do? We speak up, we get assertive, we stand up straight, we get on a stage. That's only the 10%, the behavior we can see. If you look up the word confidence in the dictionary, it has nothing to do with bravado, swagger, or performance. It's an understanding of, appreciation of, and trust in your own abilities. It's that 90% below the waterline in that iceberg. It's a mindset before it becomes a behavior. And so right now, I want you to think about that inner critic and talk to that inner critic. In fact, I named mine. My name is Fred. There's a whole backstory to why my inner critic's name is Fred. By the way, when we name things, they're no longer powerful. It's like Harry Potter. When you can say Voldemort, you're not afraid of Lord Voldemort. But I always say to Fred, okay, you don't get a choice. You don't get a chance to be here in the room with me today. I'm not going to take direction from you. I'll let you have a voice. I'll let you tell me why you think I shouldn't do this. But I'm making a choice that I'm strong enough to channel into my inner self and my confidence. So that's the second part of our philosophy, is confidence is a choice and a mindset before it becomes a behavior. The third part is the really hard work. In order to be confident, we actually need to understand why we are confident. What is it about me that makes me valuable, that makes me worthy? And this is the fun part. It's the hard part, but it's the fun part. Whenever I ask the question, if your best friend was standing here, what would they say to me about you? You often realize people see you much more positively than you see yourself. And so one of the things I always say is you got to tap into those unique talents and capabilities that only you have. We did a quantitative study on confidence in America, and we've identified 8 superpowers, 8 ways in which you could tell me what you're the best at in the world. You can take a quiz at myconfidencelanguage.com to get your own inventory of it. And these 8 superpowers change the way you see yourself. They change the value that you assign to your own capabilities and worth. The 8 superpowers, now I only have 4.5 of them. Most of us have 2 or 3. My mom took our quiz. She has all 8. She does. She said, I take your quiz. I have all 8. And it's not like Pokemon. You don't need to collect them all. But once you see them, you can't unsee them. Now, this is not a personality test. This is an inventory of your strengths and talents in this moment. They can grow over time. You can decide actually which ones you want to add to your portfolio. When I took the quiz the first time, I only had 3. I now have 4.5 because I've been working on 2 of them that I really want. But these 8 superpowers underpin our self-esteem. It's how we want to be seen in the world, but also what unique talents we bring to the world. And that is real confidence, when you can assess your own value, advocate for it, be seen for it, and be heard for it. Here are the 8 superpowers. First, leading. I'm in charge. I set direction. I'm in command. The second, performing. It's what I'm doing for you now. Loving the energy of other people, being center stage, speaking out loud. These 2 are the most often talked about when it comes to confidence because they're behavioral. I can see them, the 10% above the waterline of the iceberg. They represent less than 15% of America. That's why most of us have been made to feel bad our entire lives. These other 6 superpowers are incredibly powerful and equally as powerful routes to self-belief. The next 2, achieving and knowing. Achieving, I get things done. I have an athlete's mindset. You set a goal, I will meet or exceed it. Practice makes perfect. If I fail, I'll get up and try it again. Knowing I'm smart, I'm thoughtful, I'm well-researched. I've done all of the process and thinking. I love a spreadsheet. You want to build IKEA furniture with someone who has knowing as a superpower? The best example of these two superpowers in action are the women in the movie Hidden Figures. How do 3 Black women have the gravitas to be at NASA in the 60s and 70s? They weren't leading and performing. In fact, if we led and performed all day, nothing would get done. They were the smartest, quote unquote, computers who could do all the math to send a man into space. The next two are giving and believing. Giving, I'm empathetic. I care about relationships. I care about the feelings of others. I'm willing to give of myself without expectation of return. Believing, I'm optimistic. I see the best in everyone in every situation. If things don't work out, they weren't meant to be. They're putting us on a path to where we're supposed to be. The best example of this in pop culture is the TV show Ted Lasso. If anyone's a Ted Lasso fan, and even if you're not, Ted Lasso is an American coach who goes to coach a football/soccer team in the UK. And he says in season 1, I've been underestimated my entire life because I'm not a commander coach. I don't lead from the front. I'm not here to win or lose. I'm here to see the best in everyone in every situation. I'm helping people become the best versions of themselves. And what you find is that by season 3, the team comes together over a believe poster because optimism, belief in each other is actually the way in which they achieve what they want to achieve in the series. The last two are creating and self-sustaining. Creating is my top superpower. I can see things before other people do. I love to think about the future. I can will ideas into existence. I can create something from nothing. Artists, authors, entrepreneurs tend to have this superpower. Immigrants tend to have this superpower because being an immigrant means you can believe in something before you can see it. And the 8th and hardest to get superpower is called self-sustaining. I like myself. I don't need to impress you. External markers are interesting and nice to have, but they don't define me. This superpower is the one that's most required to overcome criticism without objection, to ask for a favor or a raise. Because if you ask for a raise, it means you know your market value and you're willing to hear no because you'll say, don't worry, someone else will pay me that market value. You're not afraid to make the ask. But together, these 8 superpowers change the way we talk about confidence. No more should we say to someone, be more confident, because when you say be more confident, it's ambiguous, it's anxiety inducing. In fact, if someone says to you, be more confident, you can say, which of these 8? Do you want me to be more performing and speak up more? Okay. Be more self-sustaining and not spiral when bad things happen. When we create dimension around the word confidence, it gives us all the permission to have it. My route to self-belief is going to be different than yours because what makes each of us tick is unique to us. And I love talking about confidence in this way because when you make a choice to break out of your inner critic, you change your mindset and you see yourself in your most positive and strongest light. There's nothing that is impossible to do. I can tell you firsthand that this mindset can power you to do extraordinary things. In March of 2020, my team, we make women's workwear to go to offices, events, conferences. In March of 2020, the sales of my company when we went into lockdown from the COVID-19 pandemic, they weren't zero. They were negative because we have a 30-day return policy. So if you bought a dress from us, you ran back to the post office to return it before the post office closed. We refunded more than we sold. And in that moment, I didn't focus on what we didn't have because effectively women's workwear as a category disappeared for 2 full years. I said to my team, what do we have in this moment to be useful to others? What are our superpowers? What are we capable of? How do we pivot our business with purpose and not with profit in mind? And for 72 days, from April 3rd to July 13th, we made hospital gowns and face masks. And in those 72 days, we pivoted our business. Now, if you ever look up the word pivot in the dictionary, it has nothing to do with change in direction. It's the central point on which you turn. The more aware you are of your superpowers, the more you have gas in the tank to be a speedboat when everyone else is an aircraft carrier. In that moment, I leaned on 3 of my superpowers. These are the 3 that are natural to me. Creating, I was able to create something from nothing. I willed an idea into existence because I said, who needs us right now? It's the frontline worker. Performing. I don't have superhero facades. So I put on LinkedIn, dear LinkedIn community, the sales of my company are negative. If you need a face mask or a hospital gown, DM me. And I will tell you, so many people raise their hand to help me. I want to do a shout out to Uwe Voss at HelloFresh, who was one of the first people to message me saying, can you get me 2,500 face masks to Newark, New Jersey? Brian Stoltz, when he messaged me saying, my company needs 600 face masks to send to people who are working from home. And then leading. Leading is one of my top superpowers. I was able to organize us in a way that we could get this done. Now, to be clear, most of my team has opposite superpowers to me. They are high on achieving, knowing, giving, believing, self-sustaining. Together, we have all 8 superpowers. But what that experience taught me is that you can make a choice to break out of a negative cycle, change your mindset, focus on the strengths you have, not your weaknesses or what's missing. And in the process, it allows you to transform your life, to take on risks, to do incredible things. For me, it was saving my company from not existing. Now, one little piece of bad news for you is, unfortunately, the 6 forces we talked about, your inner critic never goes away for good. And one of the things that I like to say is, if you change your mindset, if you focus on your superpowers, you are strong enough to have conversations with your inner critic. You don't wave it away. Have you ever had a boss say to you, oh my gosh, why don't you believe in yourself? I wouldn't have given you that assignment unless I believed in you. They kind of wave away the inner critic. What I like to say is, talk to your inner critic. Because when you're able to talk to your inner critic, you're strong enough to say, hey, inner critic, which of the 6 forces has shown up today? What's the worst case scenario? And then you can drown out that inner critic with the best case scenario, the megaphone of your superpowers. Okay, that's the worst case. What's the best case? And what you'll often find is the most likely is closer to best because you're now in control. It reminds me of one of my favorite things in the TV show, This Is Us. Beth and Randall Pearson, they're a couple on This Is Us, and they do something called worst case scenario. If you've never seen the show, I'm going to make up a scenario. They might say, okay, our college-age daughter is coming home and has something to tell us. And they'll say, worst case, go. Oh my gosh, she's dropped out of school. She's moving back in with us. She's pregnant. We're going to have to raise her baby. They just let their inner critic fly. And then you'll see a little turn on the show. Well, they'll talk about how strong they are. Okay, we have a big house. She could move back into her old room. We've fostered kids and raised kids before. We could help her with her baby if she needed us. They start to talk about all their superpowers, how strong they are. Worst case, best case, most likely is closer to best when you're in control. So to recap, confidence is a choice and a mindset before it becomes a behavior. We're born fully self-confident. There are 6 forces that hold us back. We have to make a choice to break out of those 6 forces, change our mindset, focus on our talents, our strengths, not only of ours, but the team or the colleagues or the friends or the family around us. Actually, you probably have all 8 superpowers in your life if you just see other people for those strengths. And if you do that, you can do extraordinary things. You can pivot, you can take risk, you can do the thing that you never thought was possible. But it all begins with making the choice to not listen to your inner critic and changing your mindset and taking direction from your superpowers. Confidence is a choice and a mindset before it becomes a behavior. I hope you've loved this episode of In Confidence. I hope you're leaving this space stronger than when you arrived. If you love this episode, I hope you'll share it with somebody who needed to hear this today. And subscribe so that you never miss a moment of inspiration. Until next time, in the words of my 9-year-old self, I see you, I value, I believe in you.